When progress feels heavy, uncomfortable, or slow, the mind immediately labels it as a warning sign. People assume that if something were truly right, it would feel light, exciting, and rewarding. This assumption is one of the biggest misunderstandings on the path of inner growth. In reality, resistance often appears not when you are far from change, but when you are approaching it. Resistance is the nervous system reacting to unfamiliar territory. The old patterns sense that their control is weakening, and they respond by creating discomfort. Every habit, belief, and emotional reaction you have practiced for years has formed a comfort zone, even if that comfort zone is painful. When you begin to change your behavior, your posture, your thoughts, or your daily discipline, you challenge what is familiar. The body prefers efficiency, not growth. The mind prefers predictability, not improvement. So when you move closer to transformation, they push back. This pushback is experienced as laziness, irritation, doubt, or the urge to quit. Many people misinterpret this reaction and turn around, thinking they made a mistake. Closeness to growth is often marked by repetition without reward. You do the work, but the results are not immediately visible. This creates frustration. The ego wants confirmation that its effort is valuable. When confirmation does not come, it questions the process. But real development is not transactional. You do not perform an action and instantly receive a visible outcome. Instead, the system is being recalibrated quietly. Muscles strengthen before they look strong. The mind stabilizes before it feels confident. Resistance also appears because awareness is increasing. You start noticing your weaknesses, inconsistencies, and internal conflicts more clearly. Before, they were hidden. Now, they are visible. This visibility can feel discouraging, but it is actually progress. You cannot correct what you cannot see. Increased awareness is not regression, it is clarity. The discomfort comes from seeing the truth without filters. Another important point is that resistance demands interpretation. The same discomfort can mean two opposite things depending on context. Pain caused by avoidance is different from pain caused by refinement. Avoidance pain feels chaotic and draining. Refinement pain feels structured and purposeful, even if it is unpleasant. When you are close to growth, the discomfort usually comes from structured effort, showing up, repeating discipline, staying present. This is productive resistance. Many people wait for resistance to disappear before continuing. This is a mistake. Resistance is not a signal to stop, it is a signal to observe. When you observe resistance instead of reacting to it, you remove its power. You realize that it is temporary and mechanical, not a personal failure. It rises, peaks, and fades if you do not feed it with stories. Closeness is not dramatic, it is subtle. It does not announce itself with excitement. It tests patience. It tests commitment without reward. Those who understand the stay. Those who do not leave just before the shift happens. Growth often happens after the moment you feel like nothing is happening. If resistance is present, ask a different question. Not, why is this so hard? But what is being challenged right now? Usually, it is the old identity, the old timing, the old expectations. When those dissolve, effort becomes lighter again, but at a higher level. So when you feel resistance, do not rush to escape it. Slow down, stay consistent, refine your attention. Resistance is not blocking the door. It is standing at the threshold, proving that the door exists. Silence and boredom are often misunderstood because modern life trains the mind to seek stimulation constantly. Noise, movement, validation, and entertainment create the illusion of progress. When these disappear, the mind assumes something is wrong. Yet silence and boredom are not empty spaces, they are revealing spaces. They expose how dependent the mind has become on external input. When excitement fades and praise is absent, what remains is the raw relationship you have with yourself. Boredom appears when the ego is no longer being entertained. In the early stages of any practice, novelty carries you forward. New routines feel interesting, insights feel powerful, and motivation feels natural. Over time, this excitement fades. The work becomes repetitive, the results become subtle, This is the moment where discipline begins. Discipline is not the ability to act when inspired, it is the ability to act when nothing is stimulating you. Silence tests this capacity directly. In silence, there is no distraction to hide behind. Thoughts become louder because there's nothing covering them. This can feel uncomfortable. People often mistake this discomfort for failure or stagnation. In reality, silence is showing you what has always been there. Impatience, restlessness, self-judgment, and craving for approval surface more clearly. These qualities were not created by silence, they were revealed by it. Awareness grows when there is space to observe without interference. The absence of praise is equally important. When no one is watching, when no one is acknowledging your effort, the question arises, why are you still doing this? If your practice depends on recognition, it will collapse under pressure. When praise is removed, intention is purified. Action becomes internal rather than performative. This is where integrity is built. You learn to act correctly because it is correct, not because it is rewarded. Visible results follow the same pattern. Early progress is often obvious. Later progress is internal. You may not feel calmer, stronger, or clear every day, but your reactions soften, your attention sharpens, and your endurance increases. These changes are difficult to measure, so the mind becomes impatient. It wants proof. Silence denies the mind this proof and forces trust in the process. Trust is not blind belief, it is continued action without immediate feedback. Boredom also trains stability. When the mind cannot escape into stimulation, it must learn to stay. Staying is a skill. Most people are trained to leave discomfort immediately, through phones, conversations, or constant activity. Boredom interrupts this pattern. It asks you to remain present without reward. This presence strengthens attention and emotional regulation. Over time, what once felt dull becomes calm. What once felt empty becomes spacious. Silence teaches listening. Without constant noise, subtle signals become noticeable. Breath, posture, emotional shifts, and mental habits are easier to observe. This level of observation cannot exist in a noisy mind. It requires patience and humility. Nothing dramatic happens, yet something fundamental changes. The inner environment becomes less reactive and more stable. Those who quit at boredom never reach depth. Those who stay discover that boredom was never an obstacle, it was a gate. Beyond it lies clarity that does not depend on excitement and discipline that does not require force. Silence stops being uncomfortable when you stop demanding something from it. When you allow it to be, it becomes a teacher. The absence of excitement, praise, and visible results is not a pause in growth. It is the stage where growth becomes real. The ego is designed to protect what is familiar, not what is true. It maintains identity through repetition, comparison, and control. When growth approaches, the ego senses a threat, not because something bad is happening, but because something old is losing its authority. This is why self-doubt, impatience, and the urge to quit often appear suddenly and with intensity right before an inner shift takes place. The panic is not a sign of failure, it is evidence that the structure you have lived inside is being challenged. Self-doubt is one of the ego's most effective tools. It does not usually say, stop completely. Instead, it asks subtle questions. Is this really working? Are you capable of this? Isn't there a better path? These questions feel intelligent, even responsible, but they are rarely neutral. They arise when the ego can no longer rely on comfort and must defend itself through uncertainty. The timing of these doubts is important. They appear not at the beginning, but after consistency has been established. This is why they feel convincing. Impatience follows closely. Growth often demands a slower rhythm than the ego prefers. The ego wants acceleration, proof, and visible change. When these are delayed, impatience builds. The mind begins to rush, to compare timelines, to look for shortcuts. This urgency creates tension, and tension weakens awareness. The ego would rather move quickly in the wrong direction than remain steady in uncertainty. Slowness feels like loss of control. The urge to quit is the final expression of ego panic. Quitting promises immediate relief. It removes discomfort and restores familiarity. The ego frames quitting as self-care, realism, or practicality. But relief is not the same as resolution. What is avoided does not disappear, it waits. Each time quitting occurs at this stage, the ego strengthens its position, learning that discomfort can be escaped instead of understood. An important distinction must be made here. Not all quitting is wrong, but quitting driven by panic is reactive. It happens without clarity. Inner shifts require a period of instability. Old references dissolve before new ones form. During this phase, nothing feels solid. The ego experiences this as danger. Awareness experiences it as transition. The difference lies in perspective. When panic arises, the body often reacts first. Breathing becomes shallow. Muscles tighten, thoughts accelerate. Recognizing these signals is crucial. The panic is physical before it becomes philosophical. If you slow the breath, ground the posture, and reduce mental movement, the intensity decreases. The ego loses momentum when it is not fed by unconscious reaction. Growth does not announce itself with confidence. It arrives through confusion, humility, and uncertainty. The ego resists these states because they remove its authority. When you allow doubt to exist without acting on it, something important happens. You discover that doubt does not require resolution to pass. It rises, peaks, and fades like any other sensation. This realization weakens the ego's grip. Many people interpret ego panic as intuition. They mistake fear for insight. True insight is calm and clear, not urgent and demanding. Panic insists on immediate action. Awareness allows waiting. This waiting is not passive, it is observant. In this space, the inner shift occurs naturally without force. If you understand that ego panic is a signpost rather than a warning, your relationship with discomfort changes. You stop running from the moment that matters most. Right before growth happens, the ego speaks the loudest. Not because it is right, but because it knows it is about to lose control. Consistency is often misunderstood as a strategy for controlling external results. People repeat actions expecting circumstances to change quickly, better situations, clearer outcomes, visible rewards. When these changes do not appear, consistency is questioned. But the true function of consistency is not to reshape the outside world first. It is to refine the inner state that meets the world. Circumstances respond slowly. The mind responds daily. When an action is repeated with awareness, it creates stability. Stability does not mean comfort. It means reliability of presence. You begin to show up regardless of mood, energy, or conditions. This repetition trains the nervous system to remain steady under variation. Over time, emotional spikes soften. Reactions become less extreme. This shift is subtle, but it is foundational. A steady mind can engage with any situation without being overwhelmed by it. Speed is attractive because it promises relief. Fast progress feels efficient, yet speed often bypasses integration. When change happens too quickly, the inner state cannot support it, and imbalance follows. Consistency allows integration. Each repetition reinforces alignment between intention and behavior. Even when results are invisible, alignment is strengthening. This alignment becomes trust in yourself, not because you feel confident, but because you have evidence of reliability. Outcomes are unreliable measures of inner growth. Outcomes depend on timing, environment, and factors beyond control. If progress is measured only by outcomes, frustration becomes inevitable. Consistency shifts the focus from what happens to how you respond. You may not control events, but you can refine your response to them. This refinement is power. It reduces dependency on favorable conditions. External validation creates another distortion. Praise feels good, criticism feels heavy, and both pull attention outward. When validation becomes the reference point, consistency collapses the moment feedback changes. Practicing without validation strengthens autonomy. You act because the action itself is correct, not because it is noticed. This internal reference creates freedom. You no longer negotiate with approval or fear rejection. Consistency also reveals patterns. When you repeat an action long enough, your habits become visible. Resistance, distraction, excuses, and avoidance surface clearly. This is not failure, it is information. Consistency acts like a mirror, showing the true state of your inner world. Without repetition, these patterns remain hidden. Awareness grows through exposure, not judgment. Steadiness of mind is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to experience emotion without being controlled by it. Through consistent practice, emotions are felt fully, but pass more quickly. Thoughts arise, but lose authority. This does not happen through suppression. It happens through familiarity. The mind learns that it does not need to react to every impulse. True progress often looks ordinary. There are no dramatic breakthroughs, only quieter days. But in these days, something important is happening. The inner environment is becoming less chaotic. Attention stabilizes, patience increases. These qualities cannot be forced. They are cultivated through time and repetition. When circumstances finally change, the inner state is ready to meet them. Without consistency, change creates stress. With consistency, change becomes manageable. This is why consistency refines the inner state first. The world may or may not shift immediately, but you do. And that shift determines everything that follows. Progress measured by steadiness lasts. Progress measured by speed fades.